Chard. I'm an Oracle Certified Associate with over 20 years of experience teaching Oracle technologies. Before installing the Oracle software, there are many questions that a DBA needs to ask to ensure the installation is completed correctly and that the Oracle Relational Database Management System will provide adequate requirements for its use. If the prerequisites are not configured correctly before the installation, or if the databases are not designed properly, issues may arise. In this course, we're going to talk about planning the Oracle software installation and how to install the Oracle Grid infrastructure and Oracle database software, as well as how to use Oracle Restart to manage the components.
Before you begin installing Oracle software, you should ask yourself the following questions to help you plan your installation. What Oracle software are you installing? Perform an installation of Oracle Grid infrastructure to install the components required for ASM as well as Oracle Restart. Does the hardware involved meet the minimum required specifications? Identify all hardware that will be involved in the installation process and ensure that the minimum suggested specifications are met. Is there a recommended order of installation when multiple products are involved? Whenever possible, it is recommended that the Oracle Grid infrastructure software be installed before the Oracle database software. Performing the installation in this order means that a newly created database can be configured to use ASM disk groups, and this database is automatically registered with Oracle Restart. If Oracle Grid infrastructure is installed after Oracle database, then manual configuration steps are required to register the database with Oracle Restart. Migration steps are required if you want this existing database to use ASM disk groups for storage. Are there prerequisite steps that must be performed by someone other than the DBA? Following recommended separation of duty guidelines, the DBA is probably not responsible for configuring the hardware and storage devices that are to be used for your installation. Before installing Oracle Grid infrastructure, there are required configuration steps that a storage administrator would perform to configure the required disk partitions. Oracle recommends that you install Oracle Linux 6 or Oracle Linux 5 and use Oracle RPMs to configure your operating systems for Oracle Database and Oracle Grid infrastructure installations. For Oracle Linux 6, install the Oracle Relational Database Server 12c Release 1 pre-install RPM package. For Oracle Linux 5, install the Oracle Validated RPM.